Hello boys and girls, we're gonna go over lesson 8, which is ratios. Now this is nothing new to my PM group because we would work on this in our enrichment packet, the 6th grade material. For my homeroom, it's gonna be something new for the most part for some of you. The first thing you need to understand with ratios is that you are basically comparing something to something else, okay? Now there are 3 ways to write ratios, okay? And I'm gonna give you an example, okay? One way you can write ratios is, oops, let me get the pen now. I always forget to do this. Pen, okay. 3 to 2. Now, this is the word 2, okay? It's not a plus and a 0. It's 3, the word 2, 2. We can write ratios or the colon, and we can write them as a fraction, okay? 3 over 2. These 3 ways, either one that you choose is perfectly okay when you write ratios or talk about ratios. Okay, so keep that in mind because you're gonna need it for your classwork. Now we're gonna do these together. Okay, this is not your classwork for today. It's a separate worksheet that I found where I can teach and go over most of the questions and not, give you guys the answers to all 10 or 9 questions. So if you notice, the instructions tell you to use the diagram here for numbers 1 through 3. Now, for number 1 is done for you, and let me just explain to you what they did anyway. What they want is for you to figure out how many dark squares there are compared to light squares. So if you notice, here it says 7 dark squares, 3 light squares. So they already did the counting for you. The dark ones are obviously the ones that are shaded. They're not that dark, but they're a little bit darker than these 3 here. Okay, so they decided to write it with the word 2 in the middle, 7 to 3. Now, one important thing to remember with ratios is that you must keep them in the same order, okay? So they specifically asked for dark to light. Why isn't this? Dark to light squares. So because they said the word dark first, we're gonna write the number that goes with dark, the word 2, and then how many light. If you were to write it the other way around, 3 to 7, that would be incorrect, okay? Because they're not asking you for light squares to dark squares. They wanted dark to light squares. So you make sure that you have your ratios written in the same order that they asked for in their, I guess, their question or their sentence. Look at number 2. Number 2 says light squares to total squares. So we're going to count how many light squares there are, which we already know are 3. They're right here, 1, 2, 3. And then they want total squares. So I know it's 10 because there's 7 dark with 3 light makes 10. So total is when you count everything in the diagram, okay? So the answer to number 2 would look like this. Let's move this over. They want the 3 to 10. Okay, again, keep in mind the order. Light to total. Here's my total amount of squares, and this is the number for light. Okay, keep the same order. Very important. Number 3, light squares to dark squares. We just discussed that, so it would be 3 to 7. Now down here, for numbers 4 through 6, they want us to use the drawing of the diagram here for these 3 questions, okay? So total fruit to bananas. So total fruit means I'm going to count all the fruits and then do the bananas, okay? So there are 3, 6, 7 7 fruits in total. So our ratio for that one would look like this. 7, 2, and what was they wanted? Bananas. So there are 6 bananas. Okay, now remember you could have written it like that. I could have written it with the colon, or I could have done it as a fraction. okay? Either way is fine. Let me see if there's another one. Okay, when we do these, okay, they're not gonna have diagrams. It's just reading and writing the numbers that correspond. So weekend days to weekdays. So we know that in the weekend, it's Saturday, Sunday. So that would be two weekdays, unless, well, yeah, Monday through Friday are weekdays, work days. So it would be 2 to 5. We would write it. We can do, I'll do a fraction just to save space. 2 to 5. When you do your fractions, just in case, you always write the first number as your numerator and then the second number in the ratio as your denominator. So in this case, it wanted weekdays first, so that would be my numerator, and then my denominator would be the weekdays. All right, months in a year to months that start with a vowel. So let's move this. Okay. We know that there are 12 months in a year, and then they want all the months that start with a vowel. So you would go through them: January, no; February, March, April, yes, and you keep going, and then you would write that number in here. Months that start with F to months in a year. So all the months that start with the letter F would be your first number, and then either the word to or the colon, or if you're going to do a fraction, however you choose to write them, it's perfectly fine, to the total months in a year. That's pretty much it. If we open up the classwork, you'll notice that it's the same thing. They teach you here that the 3 ways to write the ratio, the 3 acceptable ways to write the ratio, like I already went over with you. You'll notice they have the diagrams, squares to circles, so it's very simple. Count the squares first and then do the circles. Total squares to dark squares. How many total squares are there? Write that number. And then how many dark squares? Okay, and it's very similar. Oh, look, the weekend to weekdays. So it's very similar what we just went over to your actual classwork, okay? Guys, as usual, if you have any questions, like most of you do, and you've been doing great, we do Google Meets if you need help. If you don't understand, just email me and we'll set up a Google Meet, either one-on-one or with 2 or 3, how many ever the number is that need the help, okay? Have a great day.